Hi, it's Luke from the Leicester Property Blog, and I want to give Leicester Landlords an insight as to what could potentially save you a £5,000 fine in spring 2020. Up to 645 Leicester landlords could be affected by this. Now, washing machine ratings for houses was a phrase one Leicester landlord told me a few years ago when they were talking about those colourful bar charts that came in that every property has probably had for around 10 years now. Now, these weren't brought in just so it wasted your printer ink, but it was to help raise the profile about energy efficiency within the UK housing stock. The vast majority of Leicester landlords are now quite acquainted with the legislation that came into force on the 1st of April 2018, also known as MEES, Minimum Energy Efficiency Standards. And those regulations are that when a new or renewed private tenancy agreement came into effect, the energy performance rating for that home needed to be E or above. Otherwise, it would make it illegal potentially to rent out your property if it was an F or G rated, those being the worst rated on the EPC scale. Yet from the 1st of April 2020, those rules will now be extended to cover all existing Leicester tenancies, meaning that under the new legislation, properties with an EPC rating of F or G will be classed as unrentable, regardless of whether or not a new tenant has occupied the property, and therefore it will be illegal to rent the property and the landlord could be liable for a fine of up to £5,000. Back in 2018, there was a loophole for Leicester landlords of F and G rated homes on new tenancies where they did not need to upgrade the property for 5 years if it was going to cost them some money, and this was called the no cost to landlord exemption rule. Yet back in 2019, this exemption to improve rental properties was removed, so they are too included in these new rules. This means that Leicester landlords must use their own cash now in order to cover the cost of improving their Leicester property to at least an EPC band rating of E and above. And as I mentioned earlier, we're not talking about an insignificant number. 645 properties within the LE2 area are potentially going to be illegal to rent from the 1st of April 2020. Now, when it comes to the requirement to upgrade the property, there is a spending cap that has been put in place, which is £3,500, including VAT, for each rental property, as the landlords only need to spend what they need to in order to improve their Leicester property to an EPC rating of E and above. In cases where a landlord is unable to improve the rating of their Leicester property to an EPC rating of E, within that £3,500 cap, then they will need to still spend their hard-earned cash and carry out the most appropriate measures which can be installed up to that £3,500 cap and then register for an exemption. They will need to provide free quotes from 3 different contractors for their property on that basis, so that they can demonstrate that all the relevant improvements have been installed and made on the property and it still remains below that E rating. In terms of some of the homes that are affected by the new cap of E and above, those homes reside on St James's Road, some are on Sydney Road, some are on Holywell Road in Ayleston, as well as Vernon Road, so it is widely spread throughout the LE2 postcode area. If you're a self-managing Leicester landlord or a landlord with another Leicester agent, then feel free to pick up the phone and we can have a chat about any concerns that you may have with regards to how these new regulations could affect you, or how to interpret that EPC graph, but also how to find what the EPC rating is on your rental property. The last thing you really need on your hands is that potential £5,000 fine for not being aware about what the changes in the legislation are. One final thought though, it might be wise for Leicester landlords to consider getting a new EPC done on their Leicester rental properties, as the goalposts have changed when it comes to the assessment of the EPC on a rental property, and what is an F or a G rated property might not be to the current standards and may actually fall into the E category now, so it could save you that money on improving the property. But also that EPC assessor can help give you an idea as to how you can raise the energy efficiency of the home if it is still in that F or G, and give you appropriate pricing. One other consideration is the thermal efficiency of solid walls has been recalibrated within the way the energy assessors assess the energy rating for that rental property. As countless Leicester rental properties are pre-1925, which is when most, but not all, new properties were built with cavity walls. The Department for Business, Energy and Business Strategy have recalibrated that EP assessment in order to give a truer value and result on your energy performance certificate. This probably means that some solid wall properties, such as the Victorian and Edwardian homes and converted apartments that are presently an F-rated property under the current EPCs, could move up to an E rating, which would no longer demand any improvement works to be carried out. If you'd like more information about what's going on in the Leicester property market, feel free to reach out to me. My contact details can be found at the leicesterpropertyblog.com. I look forward to hearing from you.